Welcome to this video showing the design and development process for a special commission. The client wanted a brooch which symbolized Indian wedding jewellery. The final design concept she chose was based on traditional Indian wedding garlands. It would be made in 925 silver and twisted to give the effect of two garlands side by side. Handmade chain would add movement like tassels, and red garnets at the end of the chain would reinforce the red and white colours of these garlands. As a centerpiece to attract the eye, the client wanted a flowing design in enamel using her favourite colours. Filigree would be used to create a light three-dimensional feel, giving a sense of flowers strung together to make the garland. I gave the client a choice of several filigree styles. The first step was to cut the silver sheet into the curved frame and the silver circle to be used for the enamelling. The edges were filed smooth and rubbed down with emery paper, getting ready to engrave the silver to create light reflections in the enamel.
Okay, so I am about to start doming this so that I can enamelling it. So it needs to be in a slightly gentle curve. So this hammer is a planishing hammer and a bit of a raising hammer. So it's got one side that's very flat for planishing and one side that's slightly domed. I need the domed side, so quickly just set this one. And then what you do is you just put yours at the angle that you want and then just start gently forcing it into shape. Okay, so I've just finished doming this slightly with my hammer and little doming plate. And so why I've done this is so that it has a slight curve, so that it gives it more structural strength during the enamelling process, so that the enamel doesn't just ping off when the metal is cooling at a different rate to the glass.
Before I start enamelling, I have to eliminate the fire stain, which I do by rocking the silver gently in nitric acid. The acid is really strong, so make sure you take all safety precautions. Work outside or in a well-ventilated area, use rubber gloves and eye protection, as well as having a water source nearby.
So I've set up my little engraving area. As you can probably see from the silver, I've already started engraving. So I've attached the silver domed piece with a bit of blue tack to give it its nut coming off anytime soon, to a plank of wood, so that when I engrave and I do it in this direction, if I slip, I hit this instead of the table underneath. I have placed it on a plastic jar lid so that I've got a bit of movement how I need it. And this is my engraving tool. Now, when I was taught how to make engraving tools, you place the this wooden bit in your hand and then you measure the distance to halfway up your finger, so that when you're doing it and you curve your finger so that you've got it pressure on it, you've got full movement and it's completely stable because, well, it's as stable as your hand. And then once you've got it all set up, you just start working. And then you just flick it at the end to get that nice sharp edges. Just to get rid of all the burrs without poking your finger on it, because you might accidentally stab yourself.
The circle was enamelled using the cloisonné technique. First, enamel flux is fired onto the circle. This is used to secure the thin silver cloisonné wire into the shape of the design. I tested the enamel colours to show the client, and once she gave the go-ahead, I added the wet vitreous enamel to the engraved circle. The back was counter-enamelled in royal blue at the same time. Then I fired the glass enamel in the kiln at over 800 degrees Celsius. Creating the filigree elements was a design challenge because it would be twisted and curved in 3 directions. I used Fimo modelling clay to make sure the filigree was the right shape before I started making the filigree designs. I have to really concentrate when I'm making filigree because it's so small compared to big fingers, and all the twists and curves need to be uniform. Once it's finished, it's ready to solder, but I have to be careful because the silver wire is so thin it can melt very easily. The next day I started beading.
I'm going to be beading this 0.2mm silver wire. So to do this, what you need to do is you need to hold it vertically like this, and you need to get your blowtorch or whatever you have and get the hottest point of the flame, which is just the end of that bright blue bit, and then you just heat up the tip just enough that it starts melting upwards. And then once that happens, it has gone beaded. Now the reason I am beading my wire is because I'm threading some very small garnet beads. So these things here. So I'll just thread it here. And then you can see, thanks to beading the wire, the garnet's not going to fall off. So once you've done that, you get your round nose pliers and you make a little loop at the top. And the reason I am making this loop instead of just continuing to bead it is because I'm going to be attaching this garnet bead to a bit of chain. So, and then cut off the excess. And there you have it.
Then I made the chain for the beads. To make the links for a chain, I wind silver wire into a spool. Some people use a drill. Then the spiral is cut with snips or a saw. The links are closed and half are going to be soldered. Then the still open links are closed and soldered to make the chain. Finally, the exciting part when everything comes together. Soldering in the right order means less of a chance of fragile elements like filigree would melt while I was concentrating on other elements. And now it is finished. It can be worn at different angles to give it a different look. The enamel and filigree details are absolutely beautiful. Even the counter enamel on the back is pretty. The last step is to do a photo shoot. And there you have it, a cloisonné enamel brooch in silver with handmade chain with garnets and filigree, all inspired by traditional Indian wedding garlands. To commission bespoke designer jewellery, please contact me, Tara Lois, at www.taraloisjewellery.com. Thank you very much.